Hi boys and girls, today I'm going to show you how to draw sunflowers in a vase inspired by the artist Vincent van Gogh. We're going to first start by drawing the vase. Now to draw the vase, we want to draw a horizontal line across the bottom of our paper and then two diagonal lines up from the right side and the left side of that line. Try to make them about the same length. Then you're going to draw two more diagonal lines, these going inward towards the center of the paper, but not touching. Then you're going to connect those two diagonal lines with the horizontal curved line like a smile. You made a symmetrical vase. That means both sides of the vase are the same. Now, you're going to draw a curved line through the center of the vase because later on the vase is going to be two different colors. Next, you're going to draw a horizontal line from the right side of the vase to the edge of the paper and the left side of the vase to the edge of the paper. This line represents the table that your vase is sitting on. Now you can add some detail onto the table. I'm making mine look like it is a wood table by adding some swirling lines and curved lines that are horizontal to make it look like the wood grain. If I'm going too fast, you could always pause the video and press play when you are ready. Now we're going to draw some sunflowers. I'm going to show you a few different types and styles of sunflowers that you can draw. I always start with the center of my flower. You can add some detail to the center of your flower by using some horizontal and vertical lines that are crossing over each other. Next, we're going to draw the petals. I like to draw one petal at a time, and the first petal that I draw, I'm going to draw the second petal across from it. So this is going to help me spread out my petals evenly. I also like to turn my paper as I draw my petals. So I turned my paper and I'm drawing another set of petals, one across from the other. Now I have some spaces that I need to fill in. So once again, I'm going to turn my paper and I'm going to draw one petal across from the other. And I'm going to continue this until my entire flower and all my petals are filled in. Remember to go slowly and to turn your paper so it's easier to draw each petal. When you draw the petals like this, it helps to make the petals look like they're overlapping each other. And if you've seen a real sunflower, you will know that they have many petals overlapping one another. Now we're going to draw the next sunflower I'm going to draw is going to look a little different than the first. I'm going to use a larger circle for the center of my flower and then a swirling line in the center of that circle to add some detail. Now I'm going to draw the petals the exact same way as I did prior, except I'm drawing them shorter this time. Notice again how I turn my paper and draw a set of petals across from each other every time, and then I fill in the spaces. Once again, this is the easiest way to draw your sunflower. When I'm done drawing all the petals of this flower, I'm going to add some detail with a zigzag line around the entire flower head to make my flower look more full. Next sunflower I'm going to draw is going to have a different center, so a circle with a smaller circle inside, and that smaller circle is going to be colored in. Once again, I'm following the same steps that I used before to draw my petals. Turning my paper and drawing one set of petals at a time, then filling in the spaces as I go. I'm going to add a little bit more detail to each of these petals by drawing a line through the center of each one. As you can see, we've now drawn a sunflower 3 different ways. All of these sunflowers we've drawn have been facing forward. The next 2 we're going to draw, one is going to be facing downward and one is going to be facing the side. Now you can see that I already started by drawing a half circle, and now I'm adding petals to the flat side of that half circle. This is my flower that's facing downward. Then on top of the petals, on the flat line of that half circle, I added a short zigzag line and then a few petals looking like they're falling from the sunflower. The next one I'm going to draw is going to be facing the side. So I'm using an oval or an ellipse shape for the center of my flower, and then I'm adding some tiny dots in the center of that oval or ellipse to show the detail of the center of the flower. Then I add a petal to the top and the bottom, and then filling it in only on one side. So this is going to make my flower look like it's facing one side and I'm only seeing the side of my flower. Now notice how we drew all of our flower heads, but we haven't drawn the stems yet. I like to draw all my flower heads before I draw the stems, because then it's easier to draw the stems later on without trying to figure out where to put the next flower. So now I'm going to fill in the stems, starting with the biggest flower closest to me and then moving up and away from the vase. Now if you run into a petal or if you run into a flower when you're drawing the stem, you simply stop, pretend like you're going to draw over it, but then find the next open spot on the paper and continue your line. You can even add some detail to the stems by adding some small leaves on each stem wherever there is space. On Vincent van Gogh's painting of sunflowers in a vase, he signed his name on the vase itself. So don't forget to sign your name on your vase. Next, we're going to trace our entire drawing with a Sharpie marker. Make sure it's a permanent marker if you plan to use watercolor or marker later on. If you use a regular watercolor marker that is black instead of a Sharpie marker and you go to paint later, your lines are going to blur out. So you want to keep nice, crisp lines when you're adding color. So it's important, especially if you're using watercolor or a marker later on to color with, that you use a permanent marker to trace. When you're done tracing, make sure you erase any pencil marks that you might see before you start adding color. To add color, I'm going to use markers and crayons. The markers I'm going to be using are a watercolor marker. That means that I'm going to later on be able to take a paintbrush with some water and blur out the color to create a nice watercolor effect without having to use watercolor paints. So whatever color I'm going to use later on with crayon, I'm going to take that same color right now and outline the different areas of my drawing with marker. You don't have to be too careful while doing this, because once again, we're going to be using water and a paintbrush to blur out that color later on. Once I'm done with the markers, I'm then going to take my crayons and color lightly in the different areas of my drawing. Don't forget to choose a color for your background or the area behind your sunflowers, which may be a wall. I decided to use the color purple, but you could use whatever color you choose. Just remember to choose a color that will make your sunflowers stand out and not blend in. Now that I'm done using crayon, I'm going to take my paintbrush and water and go over all the areas that I added marker to in the beginning. When you do this, you will notice that the marker kind of blends out just by adding some water. And there you have it, your Vincent van Gogh inspired sunflowers. I hope you had fun.